Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello out there. I hope all my little snuggle bunnies had an enjoyable Valentine's Day with their sweetie. And they had a lot of good sex while they were at it. So, roses, chocolates, those are nice. But the sex is best. And I hope you did enjoy. So, we're back to more sex. And talking about it. Now, heaven only knows how your sex night went with your partner, your significant other, or with your newbie. But, sometimes doing it fast and having that little quickie is fun. Sometimes you want to go slow. But, which one is better? Inquiring minds want to know. Really up to you. But, that's what we are going to talk about today. Now, our lives are crazy right now. We're forced to slow down in quarantine for COVID, but yet the world is not stopping and needs to move, and it's generally at a high, fast pace. So sex kind of sort of gets stuck in there between the fast and the slow, and just getting it sometimes is a chore. Trying to make time to be there and to have sex and at least enjoy it. And then there's other times where you're like there and, okay, it's right there, let's do it. Or you're really so relaxed that you don't even want to get up. So, how do you put it together, and how does it really affect your sex life? Well, yeah, only you can say that, and only you can tell. But, there's always those scientific studies that, look at the population who is, identifying for us, for say. We have, and you all want to enjoy sex. If you don't, well, you're in the wrong, and you're in a relationship where you might want to either find out what's wrong or find another mate. Well, I cannot say that enough, because you're not going to make each other happy that way, but hey. Now, techniques out there that slow the pace of sex, such as sensate focus, stop start, and this is to really increase the chance of orgasm, mainly, in women, But in men, it gives them the control of over their, a lot more control of their ejaculation. And it's training your body to enjoy the sex, to enjoy all of this, basically. Now, because of everything that's going on, it's really crazy right now. So playing stop, fast, slow, stop, start, that's actually part of our life right now. So we might not have any difficulty with that. But we will talk about the sensate focus technique a little later. But you got to ask yourself, how do you, you or people in general feel about the pacing? And it really was, they wanted to find out which sexual pace men and women found most arousing. Now, 486, which is 16% of the men in the survey, and 84% of women, which was a lot more, who completed an online questionnaire, mind you. They're really taken to the lovely situation. There's this questionnaire was linked to an article on arousal. There were 38 questions, and it basically, they described the individual arousal patterns, including, the preferred sexual pace. And, the majority of these participants were heterosexual. And they were actually young. And, the males equal up to about 26 years old. So anything above that, we got to really think about here. Both in a relationship and single people. And it was basically to identify whether they would prefer their current sex to speed up or down. So who likes it faster? Dun, 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 dun. Well, obviously there was a belief that women are more likely to enjoy only fast sex. But believe it or not, the women actually preferred sex faster, usually preferred the slow sex. Interesting. And it was pretty darn close, because most of the women actually asked for that fast pace. And then the men actually really wanted slow. Every so often they wanted fast, but they really wanted to go slow overall. Does a gender play a big role in this? Maybe. Maybe age plays a big role in this. It's very different. And it was, they found, what is wrong with these kids of today? All right, so who likes slow sex or slower sex? Men and the over 35. I think they appreciated it a hell of a lot more. It also had to do with a lot with the relationship satisfaction. If you're not in a satisfying relationship, well, sex is sex. Get laid. Get your joy out of it and go home. But, if, people who had the desire for slower sex, really were not satisfied in their relationships. And that's probably why, because they weren't satisfied. So they kind of sort of, that relationship connection. And then there are those who just over with one night, or every so often spicing up the little bedroom there, having a quickie and having a nice slow romantic night. It is completely up to you. It really, if you're not in the mood, you're not exactly going to want to go slow. You're probably going to tell your mate, well, Why don't you just hurry up and get it over with? Not a wise choice, but hey, it gets done. It's not written in stone. You could think that you want a quickie, and then you're in the middle of that, which bypasses foreplay and everything else, and come to find out that, how you feel in your relationship, how you feel, and how you want to just basically fall into that sexual moment that you are having, what you want to feel at that time, and all of that comes into play. You really need to look at that and decide, is this, do I want to slow down? It's been found that men, actually it takes them 3 minutes to ejaculate. Women, it probably could take a little longer. And for the most part, some of them have already faked it. Hey, I'm just telling you, it's happened. When it comes to sex and it comes to your relationship, it is really all about the communicating. And that's one of the biggest keys in everything in your life. That sexual piece is, and you need to know about that. And really liking and enjoying your partner, another thing, because a lot of people who are not in a satisfying relationship will just have sex to have sex, and they will just basically hurry up to have an orgasm, or to just basically get it over. Well, that is what it is all about. It isn't anything different or that complicated, but it is important. There are some people who, sex, fast and hard, but their counterpart likes it slow and they get bored. At different ages in your life, different things happen, depending on, too, how you mature as well. The rhythm of sex is very, very important. It's vital for sexual enjoyment, and it really is good for determining how you will build up to your arousal and your partner's arousal, and ultimately to that orgasm, which is where you all want to be. Hey, sex isn't sex unless you go in and you say, I just want you to get me off, and then later I'll do you. Not give it time. Play a little bit of that. Ooh, that gets something to look forward to, or anything along that way. I mean, when slow sex is that arousal, and that's at a really leisurely pace. You're not rushing, you're enjoying each other's company, kissing, hugging, fondling, whatever. If you go too fast, some people say it kills their sexual mojo. It's possible. It is very, very possible. There's a lot of things you look at is that passion and that intensity. Might have been nice to rip the clothes off really fast, but then, come and slow it down. You get that little bit of that connection, that intimacy that will be there in growing, and that huge bond. Maybe you want to watch some sex. Heaven only knows. I mean, when you are looking at porno, if you are deciding to do so, obviously they're on a time frame, so they have to get sex done, so they do it fast. And it's basically for your enjoyment, because that's what porn is. Don't go by that, because the person who you're having sex with might just hurt your feelings. the individuals on the TV and in the movies. Yes. And they're getting paid to do it at the rate they are and to do the things that they do. Unless you want to come up with paying your partner, I don't think they'll like it very much. Unless, of course, it's a game you're playing. You don't, slow sex in porn is not, it's not going to happen. So don't think that it is. Now, there are some differences between, which is nice. And we're going to start off with body versus mind. Now, slow and fast uses different body processes, obviously, because your mindset has to be in that. Slow sex is considered more body-oriented, and fast sex, and it will come down, it argues that as we move into a world that values higher cognitions and individualism, our body is gently left behind. Yes, it is. And basically what happens in this, when this does occur, your natural rhythms are off. And they're off from the cues of your body. And you're, not really catching and doing what your body is asking. So, on that note, we are going to take the first break in the show. So get a snack, get a drink, come back, get relaxed and comfortable, because I will meet you back here for more fast and slow sex talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back to our little sex talk about fast and slow sex. What's good about it, what's not. And how we're talking about, it really is up to you of what you want to do, as long as you're on the same wavelength with your partner. If you're not in a happy relationship, obviously faster is better, you get it over with. But you can't live like that. So, because you're not hurting anybody but the person you're with, and then yourself down the line. And you're becoming more miserable. We want happy sex. And hoping everybody got it on a Valentine's. So we were discussing just before break, the differences between fast and slow paced sex. So we're going to continue on with that as we go on to the next difference, which is goals. The goals are different for fast and slow sex. Now, obviously, fast sex tends to be goal-oriented. You want to have an orgasm. Plain simple, to the point. Get in there, do it, get it done. If you are both on the same wavelength, go for it. It is also there to relieve some tension, getting it out, and then, relaxing and going in for the slow sex. It could be intertwined. Now, the goal for slow sex actually is, the ultimate goal is to end it with pleasure. And it is, the bar is really low. It is lowered for more success in achieving that pleasure ending of the ultimate orgasm or whatever it is you were going for. So, obviously, when you slow, nice being the optimal word there. So, another difference would be gender. Both men and women are like all kinds of rhythms. So, obviously, we have found that women are found and believed, or believe in found, shall we say, however you want to put it, to like slow sex more often, whereas women found it was the opposite. The women got more aroused by faster sex more often than men did. So there was a difference there, as confusion as it may sound. It's believed that women like it slow because they want the touchy, the feely, the get to know, and the men like it fast. However, in that study that I did talk about, it found that women actually like the faster sex and were aroused by it, and men actually like slower. So there is that difference when you actually put it into perspective. Age is another difference, which was a big factor in that study. Obviously, the emphasis changes on, the different stages in our life and what we go through and how our body changes. Obviously, younger like it fast. They're in the fast lane 24/7. While the older population, or generation as we say, we value that little slow sex in there. And, it's really weird when you even discuss it and break it down, because nowadays, older women are with younger men, and it's vice versa. So there's a lot to it. You really need to look at your relationship with that. Another one would be, obviously, relationship satisfaction. More people are in need of slower sex as life gets faster. There it goes. There's not enough slow sex that is linked to relationships dissatisfaction. It's more of the fast sex and just trying to get it over with. And your relationship really, really needs to be looked at, evaluated, and anything that goes along with that, if the both of you are to be happy on all aspects of life. There's really no pinpointed way that you are to enjoy sex, because there is that word, enjoy. But there are differences between the styles in the couple, or just new people together, that cause a disconnection and a lot of frustration in that area of your relationship. However, it has been found that those same differences are what actually is the going thing for sex and keeping it alive in that relationship, in that excitement. Because a lot of people are in a relationship, they may not really get along with their mate, but the sex is amazing. So, or it might go the opposite way. Sex really isn't that good, but you just love that person. That can be worked on. So, you need to look at it and you need to, it's really how you do look at them and how you work with them, work around those differences. Make sure that you really keep the lines of communication open, because these differences and similarities really are the foundation for the most part. And you got to really talk about it, because you don't, it's just going to be really uncomfortable in the room. That elephant in the room is not a pretty one. Obviously, you're always wanting to spice up your sex life every so often. So really, that little quickie in the afternoon is a good thing. And there's always time for fast and slow sex in your relationship and throughout the life of your relationship. Figure out what, when, why, and how. Do communicate together as a couple or a new partner, giving out those expectations and what's really there. And it helps you to really, by getting this all out, get in and really understand your sexual needs and how you want it and how you're going to go about it. Because, some people ask, believe it or not, some people ask, hell, they did a study on it. And, you sit back and you say, somebody actually sat there and did that? Did an actual study on this? Well, yeah, this is how we find things out. It is what gets us moving. And how are the doctors going to know? The therapist's not going to know. They're there to help you, not to actually just sit there and let you say, oh, this, that, and the other. No, they are there to help you. They can't help you if they don't know. And this is how they learn. This is how they do things. So remember that. And knowing that will give you a better understanding. But knowing what you want and how you want it with regards to the fast and the slow, really sit down and talk about it. I mean, if you have an open relationship, and open-wise, your communication is really good. It's, really, really good. You can talk and say anything to your partner. Then calling up and saying, hey, you want to meet me at home for a quickie? Or you want to come over to the office if you have your own business or whatever. Those things are you're not even thinking fast, slow. You just are enjoying each other. So there's a way of doing that, and knowing that, believe it or not. So, you can't even say, oh, what's this? What's that? When it comes to sex, your brain, sex brain, and you're not really thinking in mind over body with that. You're just in you want to get it on and get it good. You want to relieve yourself, which is good from time to time, but don't go too fast now. Because you both want to enjoy it, because that's what it's there for. And believe it or not, there is online an arousal type test, which is really cute. It's like, really, the question is, do you know where your arousal comes from? Are you different from your partner? And there's this arousal test it takes about 9 to 12 minutes online, and you can look it up. It's really cool. It's something to do. And it's not I'm looking at it now, and there's like 24 questions. Unless there's more. Oh, there's a little bit more. And it starts to talk about how you can get an immediate response from this and everything. So we'll go into that on another time. That'll be something cool that you could sit down with your partner and both do. Because then you can sit down and be like, oh my goodness, I have this kind of arousal type and you have this one. Just seeing, which ones, if you were even on the same wavelength, that'd be pretty cool just to go through that. Always having fun with your partner is the overall thing. You want to enjoy each other. So remember that. So as we move along, because we're going to then talk about how to ejaculate in different ways. So, but we're going to move on to the quickie, part of our little fast sex. Obviously, if you're doing any type of other sex, tantra, regular, just enjoying each other, you're on a date, heaven only knows. Obviously, you're taking your time and you're going slow because you want to have the best out of that, which is what the end goal is, to enjoy each other. You don't want to get in there first, especially if you're in a new relationship. You don't want to get in there and make it fast. You'll be sitting there. I don't know who's going to feel embarrassed first, but it comes down to that. Obviously, a quickie is like as a 50-yard dash. It's really, it's a 50-yard dash. Really quick. You're going in there and you're like, it's speedy, it's rushed. There's no foreplay, no anything play, and no cuddling before or after. So, it's like when you go to a fast food place, it's fast food sex. It is quick sex. It is very good to have once in a while. But don't allow that to constantly be how you're going to have it. It's funny because they kind of sort of talk about the quickie as the term being relative. One person's quickie is another person's. This is how long it ever goes. So you gotta remember that this is a sex therapist who actually put that out here, and it's pretty cool. Obviously, quickie implies that you could have sex for a longer time frame. You just want a short one right now. Is it enough time to get everyone off? Heaven only knows. Like I said a little earlier, the average time to climax for a man is actually 3 minutes. Little food for thought there. You might not think about it unless you are totally in control or you masturbated before you went out to have sex with your partner, or whatever the case may be. It's not like the movies. But quickies are, that fast sex at times is very satisfying. Don't ever think that it's not. It is. Super speedy sex. It's really always coupled by how horny the both of you are. Because if you are so horny, and you've been planning to, make this a night, but you can't handle it anymore, well, that's where this comes in. And on that note, we are going to take a break in the show, so completely up to you if you want to go replenish that drink or that snack, or you just want to stay right where you're at with your hands in your pants. That is your choice. But I will be back after the break for more sex talk about the fast and slow sex, but quickie sex with Andra. So don't go anywhere.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back. After the break, I hope you're comfortable, because we are talking about speedy sex, quickies, which is usually always associated with, you and your partner being so horny that you cannot wait. You need to get a banging ASAP. Obviously, the initial arousal helps out. You know what I mean? And it makes it a satisfying sexual encounter. Even though it's really quick and you're probably just watch it go by. But you will remember that quickie because it was just that satisfying. Now, there are this particular writer out there actually pointed out her favorite quickie scenarios, which are really cool. So you might want to look into that, get a little bit of ideas. But if you have your own, you really don't have enough time to think when it comes to a quickie. You just are really focusing in on how horny you are. Now, there are like all kinds of things, like when you go out to, say you're going out to, you have plans to go to a house party or something along that line. Obviously, you may start flirting with your partner, or they're looking at you because, you just really wanted to go home and relax, but then, you went out and both of you are both horny watching each other and seeing you all dressed up outside of the fact that you get up to go to work, and you start playing around and whispering little dirty innuendos into your partner's ears and stuff. So you really if you're at that house, maybe you'll get brave and go in their bathroom and have that quickie, but you need to hurry up because you don't want anybody, coming and catching you because somebody had to go to the bathroom. Although that little bit of that heightened arousal of knowing that you could be caught at any minute, or just having someone walk in, that little bit of knowing that's almost like having sex with the doors open in your house. and people walk by, and just knowing that someone can see you or at least hear you is enough for you to really make that quickie like a real memorable one. Now, obviously, you don't want to get caught at somebody else's house doing that, or anywhere else, although in public, those are people you are probably not going to see again, but still, you can get arrested. So you might want to think about that. Now there is another quickie that you can try out. But you're like watching a television show, or you're watching a commercial. You're watching a television show. Oh my goodness, I'm like stuttering. And the commercial in between. Now you know it is only 60 seconds long. See if you can get both of you off in that time frame to get back to the TV show. Like, do a quickie in between there, and time yourself, see if that you can do this. There are little different variations. There are some situations that generally can heighten the excitement for that initial quickie. It's still, there's that sneaky aspect of it. Obviously, if you looking at the quickie in the bathroom, obviously, with no one knowing about it, it's just that much more harder than if someone did know you went up there to do that. The prospect of exhibitionism comes into play. Like I said, with in public, like in the public stairwell, pulling 9.5 weeks, having sex in the public stairwell. This might be real risky and a total turn on to you, while other people are a bit terrified and probably wouldn't even try it. But if they're with you, and it might just be that they want to try that, depending on who they're with for a partner. It's that overall risk, because in your head that someone can catch you, or someone can see you, or you're, like I said, being a little loud and getting caught. Just that risk of being caught overall is a total turn on. So remember that when you're going about this, you're not really thinking in that manner, but this is why you are so totally turned on by it. It's that risk. That big word there is the risk. And like I said, it is illegal to do it in public. So if you do get caught, you may just get that that jail time, and put your name onto the lovely sex offenders registry. We know you don't want that. So just, if you're going to do it, which I know most people probably have already either tried it or are experimenting or would like to try it. So just remember that. It's that risk that's the turn on. And it is called a quickie for a reason. So the next one is the Mile High Club. And this is considered a quickie in pop culture. It's been talked about, and I think Enemy has talked about it. And there's a scene with him and Brittany Murphy, obviously going to town in the movie 8 Mile. So, it's really, everybody wants to be part of that Mile High Club. And I'm assured that it's been done numerous times. There's also the other, there was another movie out there called True Romance where they, did it in a roadside phone booth. It's there, 9.5 weeks. Isn't that called 9.5 weeks for just the giggles of it? It's because he was, well, 9.5 weeks is like the older movie, which still has top billing with most people who actually knew about it. Where, what is it, 50 Shades of Grey is the modern version, so to speak, which, I think really the book, from my understanding, I have not read it. I attempted to, but it just didn't do anything for me. But a lot of people are turned on for it. And that's where it comes in. And you are really thinking about all those different ways to do things, and where can you do a quickie and get away with it. It's really what it is all about. It is that, just that, it's that quickie, getting in there, getting it done, getting your rocks off, the both of you. But the big thing with it is the mere fact that it is it is the risk of it all, and not wanting to get caught, but knowing that you can allows you to really be that sexuality peak up even more than what it is. It is, the quickie is all about that, knowing that it's about the orgasm and getting to that point where you can say, oh my God, I went home and we just couldn't hold it in anymore, or anything like that. It's just that, and everything that goes along with it. And that risk in that quickie could be done right within your home, where that risk is, like I said, with the door open. You have a screen door that has the glass in place, and you have your partner up against that, and you're just going to town, do it quickly, and that risk of somebody walking by, a neighbor walking by, or just someone driving down the street, and you're getting an audience, is the overall excitement in getting you there. So remember that. So I mean, you can't explain it any more than what it is. It is just that. And that is why quickies are so enjoyable, because you get in there, it's no foreplay, no cuddling after, there's none of that. You're just getting in there and going to town. So having fun with that is what the overall output to that is. That that type of orgasm can be so more satisfying. Really wouldn't have anything to do with regards to how your relationship is, because obviously you are with your partner, and your partner wants to do it too, and they're just as sexually as aroused as you are. It just actually puts your relationship in a just builds it, and it just peaks it up. It becomes really mind-blowing at what you can do sexually. So it has to do with that. Now, there are some things that you can do so that you can, obviously this is ejaculation, faster ejaculation, but I'm pretty sure women can do with this as well. Obviously, if you're going in for a quickie, you might want to try some different things. Most of the time, you may not have to do any of these because of the fact that you're so horny. Obviously, if you want to get done a little faster there are a couple of things you can do to get you to that. Like, say your partner is at work, you're at home today, and they want to come home for a quickie. This goes either way, man or woman. You can start masturbating with yourself to get you to that point so that when your partner gets there, you are ready, and it takes less effort to get to that orgasm, because it isn't always going to be while you are out, and it's going to be that moment. So remember that. Another thing is that we're going to take the final break in this show here. Had you hanging. And when I return, we are going to continue on the ways that will help you in your quickie and to masturbate, to ejaculate or get a faster orgasm, get you ready if you are not ready for that quickie. So, with that note, completely up to you again. If you'd like to and get something to drink, you might want to have to replenish your fluids, or just stay right there and continue on what you're doing, because you may have a quickie in store for you. So, hang tight, and I will be back after the break for more sex talk, where the topic is fast and slow sex, but we are talking about the quickie with Andra.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, welcome back to the final segment in the show for today, where we are talking about fast and slow sex, but concentrating on the quickie. And some ways that you can kind of sort of help you to get to it faster, because there might be that time when you're not in the mood for a quickie but your partner is, but you want to be, kind of sort of helping yourself out but get you to, and this also probably works with slow sex as well. Whereas it helps you to ejaculate faster or orgasm faster, because it does go men or women. And we were talking about, a little bit of masturbation in the foreground, and then getting right into it, and boom, because you're already up and going. Now we're moving on to, obviously, one of the best things is practicing Kegels exercises. And this is really good. It's basically always for women or cisgender women, and just basically focusing on those pelvic walls of the lovely vagina and toning them up, which it helps to, come faster and basically improve that overall orgasm that you do have. Obviously, these exercises require you to contract and relax the muscles in your pelvic region, which tightens them up. So basically, you're holding and then releasing, holding and then releasing, which right then and there you're getting turned on. So there are a ton of muscles, and generally your partners love when those pelvic muscles or the vagina walls have a bit of snugness. And so, doing these where the contractions are like 5 to 10 seconds long and then releasing for that. And you do this about 8 to 10 times a day, or in a row. Actually, in a row, not a day, because that's very, very little, and you're going to take a little while to get there. In a row, this is really, really good, and it helps out. And then take those sets and do them 4 times a day. Now, also to help you to orgasm faster, obviously, the opposite of masturbating would be to cut back on that masturbation, that little bit of solo play there. Kind of let your body just build up. It is a great, I'm not saying that masturbation is bad. Masturbation is very good and something that you should do. However, depending on what sex you are having, if you're having slow sex, well, then this works out for you. If you have a little solo play beforehand, then it's a little bit more enjoyable to, go into having sex with your partner because, you're working on it. And it'll take you a little longer to get up to work on it. Also, with men, if they masturbate beforehand, it actually prevents you from orgasming too quickly. Same thing women-wise, even though that women have more control over theirs. However, if you do, depending on the time of day that you do it, if you do it earlier in the day, it slows down those hormones. So that when you come and you're going to have sex with your partner, your body is not in such a rush. However, in this instance, we are discussing a quickie. And what that is, don't do it. Because you need to build it up. So you can just make it like that explosive orgasm during the quickie. This builds you up and builds you up and builds you up. Know you like to do it, and you enjoy it. I understand that. But if you want that quickie to be very enjoyable, we're switching gears from that slow where it's, go ahead and do it. Because it lets you know who you are and lets you discover things that you like sexually and how to be touched and where and all this good stuff. However, we are going on the opposite play of this with the quickie. And if you want it to be, be really good in a heavy buildup, don't have any solo play or masturbation. Let it sit there. Let your hormones build up. Let your sexual arousal build up so that you can just, boom, go to town. And abstain, believe it or not, abstain from drugs and alcohol. Obviously, unless they are prescribed. When you are under the influence of anything, for the most part, sometimes, and in most cases, not everybody is like this, but it can be difficult for a man to stay erect. Some women dry up. Now, on the opposite of that, some people who do drink get extremely horny. And I think it's more the women than the men, but if the men does have it, they probably, they can't experience the full range. Because if you think about it, after the fact, and then you've sobered up, the both of you, what do? You look back and you say, what the heck happened last night? It's probably a lot of sloppy sex. Also, if you do get, your body can't enjoy the sensations that you usually will have if you are not under the influence. So, your body's not going to do, like, it won't get overly lubricated or stuff like that. So it makes it very difficult. You can really get hurt. You don't want to do that. So you really, really don't want to be under the influence, especially if you're trying to have a quickie. If you're going for the slow sex, that I think would be even messier, because you are probably not enjoying each other, or at least attempting to, and failing epically. Obviously, when you are going for a quickie, make sure that all of sexual thoughts, all that, fantasizing and all that are right it's all in your head, in your mind, you're thinking about it, and that it stays there. Obviously, it's mind over body, and it helps you to stay, if you stay focused on that and keep your head clear of everything else, that quickie will go absolutely amazing. Now, stress, anxiety, and tired obviously can pull you out of that, but also if you're tense, it is an awesome way to relieve that. But we are trying to get to that, keeping our mind focused on the quickie and getting to that real fast orgasm. And we do not want to lose that train of thought, so kind of keep, getting rid of all of that unwanted stuff there and focusing on that quickie right there and keeping your attention on it. Now, another thing you can possibly do is, if you are used to doing it one way all the time, try a different position that you haven't tried before. Or take a position and modify it. And it probably will come out where it turns you on even more. And boom, there you go. There's the quickie. Now, if you want to try something else and you want to put the masturbation in there, sit up against the wall while you're sitting there, your partner watches you, whatever, and do it. if that's quicker for you. Or, try something different. Just do it. Kind of incorporate that masturbation in with it. It does help. There's, couple of things you can do, like you can get on all fours and then thrust your hips while you're masturbating. You can lean up against a counter or in a chair and give out the movements of like that sex while you're masturbating. So it kind of sort of makes it something different, but something the same. But you just put a twist on it. Now, obviously, the missionary position is usually the go-to position. But come up and take that missionary position and turn it into something else. Or put your legs somewhere else. Or do a different motion. Get a little inventive. There's that reverse cowgirl or doggy style. That gives you different sensations. Well, now take that and turn it around and try, doing that position with a little bit of a twist and just a little bit of a movement. Who's to say? Obviously, which comes with that, try a different motion or pace, changing up. If you're used to going back and forth, kind of sway your hips or do some other motion that is going to increase your sensation. That's going to get you to that orgasm faster. So you might want to think of how you're going to do it, how you're going to, move your hips. Or you're thrusting a little different. Obviously, motion in the ocean is good. Another thing you can possibly do is stimulate different areas. Okay, obviously, a lot of people, what's the first thing you go to? Oral sex, below the belt. Well, there are other parts of your body. Granted, women have breasts. And that is something to play around with. Men have nipples. People go for them. They're sensitive too. And they will tell you if they do not like it. But there are other areas all over the body that you can be playing with. So find a spot. We do have a ton of erogenous zones all over. Obviously, you can have your partner, masturbate you for you, or you could be doing it while they're exploring all of these different areas on your body, which will get you to that faster orgasm. Hey, you got two hands. There you go. There's a lot of stuff going on. Men are really sensitive in the scrotum. Some people, you go touch those and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, that's because it's basically, going to go a little bit too fast for them. Obviously, the prostate, The prostate is the male G-spot, another place that you can play around with. Women like it too. Obviously, lube is always your best friend. But overall, just try something new that you really don't do. Obviously, sending dirty texts to each other, that gets the sexual tension up. Common. You pick a scene or role play, letting each other, act it out, which is that's where that quickie comes in. If one person wants to be, Little Red Riding Hood, the other one wants to be the big bad wolf, boom. It's making something up. Make some sounds, which is always very, very good, because when you moan and groan, your partner works twice as hard to get there. Toys are always a good thing. And, dirty talk, sensual dirty talk. We get the dirty talk out there. And a quickie, you might really want to turn that up a bit because it is a quickie and that dirty talk probably will help out a lot. So on that note, it is the end of the show. I thank you very much. As always, please practice safe sex, fast or slow, if not for yourself or your partner, and vice versa. When you are trying anything new, please educate, communicate, and consent. Very, very important. I thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, which is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Please hit subscribe and leave 5 stars and a good review. It helps me, and it also helps the GSMC Podcast Network to know what to bring to you and what you enjoy. Also, seek us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are there. Hit that little thumbs up or that little heart. And please leave some feedback. Put there what you would like to hear on the show. Always good to hear, knowing what you like. So, with that being said, again, thank you for tuning in. And as always, after the show, please enjoy a great sex night or whatever part of the day it is. Fast or slow, sex is your friend. Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.